and welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, today we have a very special edition of the Roundtable because I'm in conversation with Rashid Kidwai, political historian, columnist, author. He's out with his fifth book, and this one is on the a family that we all have seen in politics. It's on the House of Scindias. In fact, I've got a copy of the book, which is, I think, it's out in the markets, but I've been lucky enough to get a special edition sent to me. So Rashid, congratulations on your book, and I enjoyed reading your other books, 24 Akbar Road, your books on the Bollywood Netas, and now of course the House of Scindias. It's also, I think you have an inherent advantage in writing this book because you are from Madhya Pradesh, and Gwalior is really where the Scindia seat is. So first of all, I just want to have a chat with you as to the timing of the book. Why now? Why did you write about this now? Because they've been a political dynasty for so many generations.
Yes, I think, Priya, this is a very valid question, but about living politicians or a family that has produced so many towering leaders. Remember, Rajmata Vijayaraje Scindia was a founder president of the present-day BJP. Madhavrao Scindia, everyone, you look at Vasundhara Raje, first woman chief minister of Rajasthan, Yashodhara Raje, who was, leading a life of a commoner in the USA. She gets elected, and she's a member of parliament and currently minister in Shivraj Singh Chauhan ministry. So I think this was a book that was waiting to be written about, and I actually got this thing publishers nudged to write it much before Mr. Scindia, Jyotiraditya Scindia, left the Congress to join the BJP. And when I just started, I had met him and I had met other people, and then this happened. So, that way timing became very good, but it was a sheer luck, or I say, coincidence.
Fair enough. And in fact, right now, after Jyotiraditya crossing over, it's really the saffronization of the House of Scindias, complete saffronization. There are, I think, four members of that family in the BJP currently. Which of the four do you find the most interesting? I would really want to ask you, because I have my candidate. I'll discuss with you later.
I'll definitely take this opportunity to ask you. But I think every character is very, fascinating. And there is something what you asked about being, the sort of right wing. This is also very intriguing because I studied there kind of from 1731 till date. I mean, this is no other let's say, family, royals or non-royals who have been in public life from 1731 till date. It's amazing. They are one of its kind. We all keep saying about Nehru Gandhi family, but I just did this some kind of rough calculation. Actually, the Scindias have been more time in parliament from 57 when Rajmata became Congress MP till date. They've been one or the other Scindia in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, Madhya Pradesh Assembly, Rajasthan Assembly, etc. So they have a much more outstanding. There was nobody from the Gandhis between 91 to 99 when Sonia Gandhi got elected. So this kind of gap is there, but yet they are not, not much is written about. And this thing about being them in the right wing, because they were actually very secular. In my this book, I have mentioned that once this Madhav Maharaj, when he was getting married the second time, he left Gwalior and went to 100 kilometers away to get married, simply because less than 6% of Muslim population in Gwalior city was observing Muharram, a month of mourning. And imagine this is a Maharaja. Why should Maharaja be so, careful about less than 6% of the population? So these are the kind of sensitivity was very much there. Kind of this thing is one is called, Mansoor. They really think that there is a Peer Sahab, there is a Baba called Mansoor. So all kind of healthy traditions are there. I think this is a political posturing they have done. Now I'll come to your answer in that order. I think Vijayaraje was most fascinating personality. Madhavrao was full of promise. And I find Jyotiraditya, of course, was going to fulfill unfinished agenda. What is that unfinished agenda? We'll be talking. And not to forget, Vasundhara Raje Scindia, amazing personality, first among equals. She's like far more in terms of, bravado, far more than I would say if we'd go on a gender thing than any male in Indian politics.
You mentioned this is very interesting because it's my observation also that the Scindia women are definitely more feisty and more, interesting than the Scindia men. The men have got more from political posts and they've got more limelight. But I think the women they've really held their own ground on their own terms more than the men, I would say, the Scindia women.
Yes, Priya, there is a reason for it. Because when a woman comes in politics, she at any time in any, kind of public life, because of that centuries old, that kind of stereotype that's existed in our society, she has to make more conscious efforts to, prove herself. See, no one asks, about somebody, what that person is doing after 8 p.m. But this sticks on women. So woman has to be very careful about, every aspect of her public life, be it a dress code, be it how she interacts with the kind of people she meets. So I think that way, Rajmata Scindia, Vasundhara Raje, Yashodhara Raje, they deserve full marks in, conducting themselves in a very, appropriate manner and giving it back to the people who try to kind of, point fingers at them. But before we go further, Priya, I want to ask, who are your 4 favorite Scindias?
So in fact, of course, Rajmata is the most interesting, but since one has not interacted with her, I've interacted with all the others. I would say Vasundhara. I really find her for more reasons. One reason, what you have said, then also the fact that Rashid, she's holding her own. She doesn't have the support of the BJP current high command at all. We all know that. Despite attempts to destabilize her, despite character assassinations, despite political, assassination attempts, also in terms of trying to destabilize her, not in any other way. I think she's held her own, and she's in that sense more of a mass leader than any other Scindias. Yashodhara, I of course have the best equation with, so I do have a soft spot for her. But Vasundhara definitely. I think
yes, and Priya, to having make it in a state like Rajasthan, to become a chief minister, it was not an easy thing, and she had a lot of difficulty in finding this caste equation, etc. So I think it's a really outstanding story.
Definitely. In fact, just to go back to what we talked about earlier, Rashid, do you think that the natural, you were saying that they are very secular in their outlook. And in fact, I remember reading in your book, you said that when the constitution of the BJP was being framed, Vijayaraje Scindia was very, the Gandhian socialism concept she was very against, she says, So do they think the BJP is really the natural fit for the Scindias? Which is why Jyotiraditya Scindia in a way has come home. He's fulfilled what his father, as you wrote, what his father could not do, he has done. He's made that journey.
I think about Jyotiraditya Scindia, only time will tell. He thinks that he is in a right place, but you look at it that, see, in North India, in the Hindi-speaking belt, as we say, some say the cow belt, etc., the BJP at present does not need a Hindi speaker, because that the kind of stranglehold that Narendra Modi has on voters, and to some level even Mr. Amit Shah. So this, if we say this Gujarati duo is more than enough. They need leaders in Kerala, they need leaders in Bengal, they need leaders in that. Yet, so they didn't need Jyotiraditya Scindia for Madhya Pradesh. I think they have got him, I'm going to say something rather controversial, just to deprive the Congress from having Jyotiraditya Scindia.
Let's not Prasad probably. Yeah, they've got someone from Rahul's Camelot. That's interesting.
Precisely. One who's bilingual, one who's temple going, one who's respected in the Hindi heartland, regardless of whether he wins or loses. But he had a very good foothold in not only in Madhya Pradesh but in Rajasthan, in Uttar Pradesh, in many other areas of I would say even pan-Indian identity. So this is something. Look, political parties are very crafty. I mean, I have analyzed. See, it is wrong to consider Congress was very, liberal and secular. They also had their kind of flirt with mixing religion and politics. The BJP is doing it in a very, I would say, open, brazen, and candid manner.
That is true. But do you think that, as you said, time will tell? What is your gut feeling? Did he make the right move, or he should have just stayed on in Congress? If he were to ask for your advice, what would you tell him?
Thankfully, he didn't ask me the advice. See, in Congress, he was first among equals. He would have inherited, for whatever reason, suppose Rahul doesn't become or Rahul fails and falters. The problem in Rahul's failure is that Priyanka Gandhi is also part of that baggage. So entire, the Gandhi, because there is no history of a member of Nehru Gandhi family failing in politics. So if Rahul Gandhi fails, the entire family fails. Now then who would take over? So Jyotiraditya Scindia was the right, contender. He would have had really acceptability. Perhaps Sachin Pilot would now have it in that order. But so if you look at the present day BJP, there is this, not only Yogi Adityanath, you have this Devendra Fadnavis, you have, of course, those old timers like Rajnath Singh and Nitin Gadkari and Smriti Irani and Piyush Goyal. So, it is very difficult for Mr. Jyotiraditya Scindia and present day BJP to be in the top 10. I think in 2024 or so, he may come in that by the time some senior leaders may get phased out. So this is the real, new beginning, lot of struggle, lot of contest, because Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah may be very patronizing towards him. But one day, because if you look at the age difference between him, Smriti Irani, Piyush Goyal, and a lot of youngsters, I'm saying just Ben Yadav and several others who are not youngsters in that case, or even our friend in Assam, Chief Minister. These all are people going to be real contenders for the top job in, I would say, next 10 years or so, when Jyotiraditya will also be, nearing 60. So then the real battle would start. I think he had decided it because he got really upset because of his defeat and the kind of environment that was developing in the country. And he actually gave up his hopes on Rahul Gandhi.
That was more of, I think, a personal rather than a very well thought of political decision. I would agree with all your points that you made, totally. But, having said that, there is something I don't agree with you. You've hinted in or kind of said in your book that had Madhav Rao been alive, Madhav Rao Scindia, he would have been the choice of Prime Minister and not Manmohan Singh, Sonia's choice. I don't see that happening. From my perspective, having covered the Congress, there was always a resentment of letting someone else come up, and Scindia that's not Madhav Rao, he has a son also. There's a whole dynasty that would have come up if he had become. Manmohan Singh doesn't have that baggage in that sense. So do you really believe that had he been alive, he would have been a choice?
I think you have raised a very pertinent question. And I remember interacting with Madhav Rao Scindia at that point of time in 2001. When, he died in September, I'm talking about January, February. By that time, he was quite unhappy with Sonia Gandhi. In his private conversations. I have not written in the book so much because he could sense it. Remember, he and Sonia Gandhi, in private conversation, were on first name basis. And they were very kind of, friendly because of that family history, that kind of Oxford, Cambridge background, etc. Rajiv Gandhi was very good to Madhav Rao Scindia. So everything. So he was more of a friend. He could call, there was no mobile phone, and he would get a call and he would go and have tea with her. I don't think today any present day Congress can afford to. I'm not talking about COVID time, but non-COVID time. They could just go and have tea with Congress president, that being Sonia Gandhi. So I think Sonia Gandhi was consciously pushing Dr. Manmohan Singh because she thought he's apolitical, he's very, he doesn't have a political legacy and all. But Priya, remember what happened in 2011, 12, 13, that kind of period when Manmohan Singh's stocks, started falling because of age also, another thing, political management. And that time, Pranab Mukherjee, she sort of didn't, trust him. Arjun Singh, health was on his side. He was too much of a maverick. I think that's where in the second inning of UPA, Mr. Madhav Rao Scindia would have made it very easily. He would have been a number 2 under Dr. Manmohan Singh, maybe an unhappy one, but by 2009, 10, 11, 12, whichever year, or at least in 14, he would have, fought the Congress battle rather than the rudderless one. Congress would have been 100 plus. There would have been some contest, some semblance of democracy, and I'm talking about electoral contest.
To just come up with his latest book, The House of Scindias. This, of course, takes a look at one of our most talked about and intriguing political families, political royalty, I would say, literally they are, even in today's world. So Rashid, just to finish that thought of Madhav Rao Scindia, even in 98, I think that's when Sonia Gandhi first really debuted in parliament. She wasn't an MP. She could have chosen a leader of opposition, made Scindia that person. She made Sharad Pawar. You talk about this in your book also, a bit of it. So was there a little bit of apprehension that, his ambitions might come in conflict with the ambitions she has for her children?
Look, I'll tell you, Mr. Scindia enjoyed a very special status vis-a-vis Gandhis. You look at him in Rajiv Gandhi cabinet, where there was always a section of Congress who was very resentful of Madhav Scindia in relation to Rajiv Gandhi as well as Sonia Gandhi. Because here was a man who could walk up to them, who could tell anything to them. It was like Jawaharlal Nehru and Rafi Ahmed Kidwai and others that, Nehru didn't need any kind of, agency input or so, because his or Maulana Abul Kalam Azad or Sardar Patel, several people, they could tell him that Jawahar, this is not correct. What you're doing is, we'll have this, we'll have that. I think these inputs went missing in case of, Sonia Gandhi when UPA came to power, etc., and present day even Rahul Gandhi, etc. So that was Madhav Scindia's USP. That no Dhawan, Fotedar, Winston George, Arun Nehru, Arun Singh, Amitabh Bachchan, nobody could, shut the door on Madhav Scindia. So he had that kind of access. He continued to have that access. He understood that Sonia Gandhi had political compulsions to, because there is a hierarchy in the Congress party to accommodate various people. Like he didn't like Digvijay Singh as chief minister. He had a lot of problems. But then Sonia Gandhi could make a distinction that either you go and become chief minister, or so they had made a demarcation that he would be at the center and, Digvijay Singh would be the chief minister. So I think both understood, obviously being politically ambitious. And look, what was his age when he died? He was in his early 50s. So that's what I'm saying. He would have shaped. It's not that Sonia Gandhi had a mind of her own and Mr. Madhav Scindia had a mind of his own. So there were clashes. I'm not denying that. I mean, he didn't like rise of Dr. Manmohan Singh as leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha, even getting Rajya Sabha thing. I used to joke, when the Israeli delegation had come and some other delegation used to come at 24 Akbar Road for a, kind of call on. And Manmohan Singh would always be with Sonia, and we would, tease Madhav Scindia. He said, well, you should have been there. He said, no, he is head of economics. So I said, what is economics in this? What to do with meeting with Israelis? So Madhav was noticing and sensing. But Priya, one more thing I want to say. Madhav Scindia was a man of many, taste and, choices. He was heavily into cricket. He had his very active social life, etc. He didn't look at politics the way some of our politicians are looking at now, even his son. So that was a very refreshing difference. So he was not mad about, not having become chief minister of Madhya Pradesh or, not being a contender of prime minister. He was a happy man.
One observation comes to mind is he would have been probably the role that Jaitley played with Modi, Prime Minister Modi. He had the accessibility to go tell him. He was the interface between him and the rest. Also, Scindia could have been that, and also someone that Sonia trusted and Modi trusted. So maybe
yes, that's a very valid thing. I think all Scindias have a thing that they owe it. It's for their historic responsibility, that unfinished agenda to become Prime Minister of India. Remember those, the Marathas could not become. Several times they became, number two. In fact, many times that Mahaji Maharaj and Madhav Maharaj and several, they bailed out a tottering, Mughal empire during the time of Shah Alam, etc. But they never got kind of control of Delhi Darbar. Later on, Y.B. Chavan also couldn't make it. Sharad Pawar, all those Marathas. So the Maharashtrian politicians or Marathas or whichever way you think, they think that there is an unfinished agenda. And Rajmata could not do it. Mother Rao could not do it because of destiny. I think Jyotiraditya Scindia, I would again say, he will not say it, he will never confess it. But there is a thing about this fulfilling this unfinished agenda of, a crown of, Delhi Darbar.
Which is interesting. You made that point about how Sonia Raji or whatever Madhura Sindhya. It was clear that leave the state to Digvijay and whoever Kamalnath, and center would be his role. He'll carve a niche for himself. The same kind of arrangement had so far been made with Jyotiraditya. It's just that the Congress was not in power. While the Congress was in power, he was happy to play that role. So was it then? I mean, who erred in this equation, this contract between the Gandhis and Sindhyas?
I think, Priya, it was inexperience on the part of Rahul Gandhi and, of course, the personal ambition of Jyotiraditya Scindia, because I think when Kamal Nath was appointed as Chief Minister, Jyotiraditya Scindia was okay because Rahul Gandhi perhaps had sold a line that there will be Lok Sabha election and perhaps there will be a coalition government or whatever. And in that, Mr. Scindia would have a role. Scindia had never dreamed, no Scindia has ever lost in Madhya Pradesh, or in, so to say, that Sindhya territory. I mean, Rajmata lost in Raebareli against Indira Gandhi, but that was Uttar Pradesh. But having to lose to someone who was a political, once upon a time, political agent of Jyotiraditya Scindia in that Guna region, I think that kind of, shook him off totally. And he realized that he will have no future. So this kind of, you can say, illusion of grandeur, that sense of self-importance. So the third, that Sindhyas won't be Sindhyas if he continued in Congress. And I'll tell you something very interesting, which I gathered later on. So vis-a-vis Kamal Nath and Digvijay, etc., that whole politics that was going on, I think Jyotiraditya arrived to a conclusion that either Mr. Rahul Gandhi doesn't want to do it or incapable of doing it. So in both ways, it was a dead end for him. This was a sum and substance.
Actually pushed into it. He took the, at least if someone sent Jitin Prasad a message, once when he switched over, saying that any movement is better than stagnation. Perhaps even Sindhyas felt the same way.
I think I'd say again, I think this second generation, this dynasty and all, or third generation, they have a huge problem. There is a sense of entitlement, and in which I would include both, Rahul, Jitin Prasad and all of them, that they think that it is their right to be in their prime. They're not used to this kind of struggle, sacrifice, which Indira Gandhi, Morarji Desai, Rajmata, several people, going to jail, Sanjay Gandhi, they all suffered. This generation of people, they don't, they don't believe in this kind of, they have no idea about suffering. As a result, there was something that they, couldn't get, they would just, get very upset about it. And, they were all
instant gratification, instant.
Absolutely. Like, me and you know that why Amitabh Bachchan fell out with Rajiv Gandhi or Arun Nehru or Arun Singh, because they fancied themselves as equal. Amitabh's side would be that, if he had done movies on those 4 years that he dabbled in politics, 2 years, but if you look at the total, he would have had 7, 8, Golden Jubilees and Silver Jubilee movies. So he thinks that, he was a loser. Rajiv Gandhi felt that by, vacating that seat, remember Rajiv Gandhi had a massive mandate of over 400 seats. And in a by-election, when he lost, Congress candidate lost and Vishwanath Pratap Singh won, it gave a signal that Rajiv Gandhi can be defeated. Like present-day Bengal defeat of, BJP, it seems that Modi can be defeated. Whether it will happen or not, but this is kind of opening that provides, a very crucial opening.
That's a very interesting point. Not just to come to the present day, now Scindia has crossed over. What is the equation between him and his aunts? They made all the right comments welcoming him and all that, but you and I know that all is not well. There is, of course, that property battle being fought, but there is also battle for political space. For instance, someone very mischievously said, we all know Jyotiraditya is waiting for a cabinet berth, but they're saying if Prime Minister wants to thwart him, he'll just give that berth to Vasundhara. That way he gets Vasundhara to Delhi and the Scindia quota is fulfilled. Now, luckily for him, the aunt is not very keen on it, but there is that all is not well within the Scindia family also.
So, Priya, we have seen that there is a very famous Hindi song, say, "Tum jo itna muskura rahe ho, kya gam hai jise chupa rahe ho." I think that's where, there is an answer, because obviously the limited seats are there, whether in states or in, at the center. But I personally feel that there is an element of RSS or Sangh Parivar, whatever, who are backing Jyotiraditya Scindia. So that is where I don't think, it will be easy for, Modi to make Vasundhara Raje, central ministers and deprive Jyotiraditya Scindia. This is my reading. I think for the time to come, for Vasundhara Raje, it is going to be, battle Rajasthan. She has to win. She has to deliver Rajasthan. And Mr. Scindia would be there in the center. Central politics of the BJP and the government. So I think this is the arrangement. Me and you both, we know what is a real situation between aunt and nephew. I think those outstanding property disputes and all, if they are settled amicably out of court, then you will see that Scindia Parivar would be a far more happy and, sense of normalcy would be restored.
United for the first time. It has not been united ever since the days of Rajmata and Madhav Rao. Yeah,
so now there is some kind of, from what I understand, some kind of arbitration is taking place to settle this out of court or do it in an amicable way. That's why they are in one parivar, political one parivar, and kind of ideological one parivar, all those family one parivar. So perhaps they would be
Hindu undivided family.
Yes, you said it. You can afford to say that. So that is perhaps going to work, and we have to see. I think the bigger loser would be perhaps Yashodhara Raje ji.
He is from Madhya Pradesh, and they can't accommodate two Scindias from the same belt in the same state, right?
Yes, in Madhya Pradesh she has a place, but every politician deserves to grow bigger. Now, where would she grow? In Madhya Pradesh? Unlikely. At the center? Unlikely. A governor house? Yes.
That's a nice tantalizing note to leave it at. I'm going to just end by recalling a very interesting nugget from Rashid's book. We were talking about the rivalry between the Scindias. Yashodhara Raje's and Jyotiraditya didn't really get along well. They've been actually, she is very vocal and candid more than, her older sister. She's more what Muphat, as we would say. So I think it was her son's wedding that Rashid wrote about, and she'd wanted to host a reception at Jai Vilas, that's the palace at Gwalior. And the evening of the reception, the morning of that, they found out that someone had gone and watered the lawns in the evening. So all the lawns were wet, and obviously you cannot have a fancy evening on the same wet lawns. People will be wearing heels and fancy clothes. They would get dirty. So she had to actually shift it to a hotel nearby. And we all know whom she suspected. For that, you'll have to read the book for more nuggets like this.
You can answer who did it.
Well, I'll leave it to people to figure out what's written in the book. I'm not going to leave out the suspense of the book.
It says it's a saga of intrigue.
It's what it is. The saga of intrigue, politics, and lots of interesting anecdotes. So I would recommend this book. And congratulations, Rashid, on yet another political potboiler. Thank you. Enjoyed reading it. Thank you for this conversation.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.